first StellarDS.io video, we explained what StellarDS.io is about. It is the easy to use data in the cloud, in the backend for your web client applications or mobile applications or even native desktop applications. In this second video, we will give you a tour around our admin application. It's a web application with which you can fully administrate your projects in StellarDS.io. So in this video, we will be showing you how you can customize your project, how you can create, add tables and their fields, what multi-tenancy is and how you can enable multi-tenancy support on specific tables, how you can also involve other users so you can collaborate with different users on the same projects, on the same data, how you can enable access to your data in the cloud, either via OAuth 2 or via a direct API key, and also how you can customize the login form in case you use OAuth 2. And we will also explain a little bit what you can do, what options you have to secure your applications with the roles and permissions that you have access to in our admin application. So let's have a look at the application that you find at StellarDS.io, and I will go through all the options available for you. So everything starts from our website, StellarDS.io. So you can navigate to that website where you are greeted with the main page. And if you have created an account, you have access to your administration application. Note that you can create an account for free. There is a free tier where you can already play with different options available in StellarDS.io. I have created an account for myself, Bruno Ferens. That means I logged in. I can now access the application to manage my account. When you have created an account, you have a project by default. And so here, this is the default project that is available for me in my account. And you can see here some information on the usage of my account. You can see that here in the last month, I have not executed any REST API requests. So there are 2 million available, but I've not used them yet. You can see that I have in total available 50 tables. I'm in the ultimate tier here. That means my maximum number of tables is 50. Other tiers have other limits on the number of tables that you can have, and I have used 14 out of my 50 tables. You can involve other users to give them access to specific tables or your entire project. There's a maximum of 100 users you can invite in this specific tier, and so far I have only one user, and in this case this user is myself. And you can also see when you had the last activity on your account. Very important is the GUID, the unique identifier for your project, and this GUID is what you will use in connection with REST API access. So to access your own project, this is the GUID you will need to specify to get access. Note that when you click that label, it is automatically copied to the clipboard, so it's easy to paste in your application code and get started to perform requests on your project. Let's move to tables. And the heart of StellarDS is, of course, tables in your account, the data in the cloud stored in tables. Everything is based on relational data storage as you are used to in typical desktop client-server applications. Here you can see that I have already a number of tables, and when we have a look at some details of the table, here you can see that this particular table has the ID field. Every table, in fact, has the ID field. It is the unique key field for every table, so you will see that everywhere. and I added 3 additional fields: a description field, a 250 character string field, a date field of the type datetime, and also a blob field named GPX blob. We come to permissions later, but we can already have a brief look at data, so you can also inspect the data that is stored in this particular table, bike rides. So you see the values for description, date, and the GPX blob. For the GPX blob, you can see here that this is a URL. So the blob data is accessible by this unique URL for this particular record, this particular GPX blob fields. When I want to add a new table, that is very easy. So I choose create table, and video demo description, for example, is the description I want to use for this new table. You can see here that at table creation time, I can select whether this table is multi-tenant or not. With one easy setting, you make your table multi-tenant or not. What does it mean when your table is multi-tenant? That means that when you allow different users to access this particular table on your account, that every user will only see, work on, change, or add data for his own account. So if I invite a colleague, for example, to collaborate on this table is multi-tenant, then my colleague will only see the records that he added and not the records that I added, for example. So each user having access to that table will see only his own records that he added. When multi-tenant is not enabled, then me and my colleague will work on the same records, same data, and so each will see the same information in that particular table. So here in this case, I will not select for the multi-tenant option. You can see here that the video demos table was created, and from here I can manage this table. You can see that now I have the default key field, the ID field, and from here I can add additional fields. So let's make it simple and easy and add 2 string fields, name and city, and save it, and you can see that my table with these 2 fields is ready to use. Of course, at this point there is no data yet in this table. And with that, you can see how easy it is, how fast it is to add tables and configure the metadata for these tables in your account. Let's move to users now. So as I explained, you have, of course, as a user, default access to your own data, but you can invite other users to also have access to your tables, to your data. And that works by inviting the user. So here I can add another user like john@do.com, and here we specify with what role that particular user will be able to access my project data. We'll come back to roles and permissions later, because not only these 3 levels of permissions or roles are available. You can add your own roles, your own custom roles. But let's say, for example, that I give John read-only access to this particular table and invite him, and he is not known yet, so that's normal. He has no Stellar DS account yet, so of course it is normal, critical, that you invite other users who already have a Stellar DS account. That can even be a free account. And that brings us to applications. So you can basically have access via REST API, via the REST API that you use in your applications, via OAuth 2, or via a direct API key that you use for access. OAuth2 means that the user will see the Stellar DS based login forms to authenticate against and authorize via the OAuth2 protocol. And here you can see different OAuth applications that were created. OAuth applications, these have a client ID and a client secret. The secret is not shown here. And they also feature a callback URL. The callback URL is the website from where you will want to access our data in the backend in Stellar DS, and of course where after a successful authentication and authorization the user will want to be redirected to. When I want to create a new OAuth application, as you can see, I need to specify the name. I can, for example, specify here that the callback URL would be this domain. And also here you can specify the role with which the user who authenticated via OAuth2 will access the data in your project. And by default, there are 3 roles available: admin, user, and read-only. And as I explained, and we'll come back to that in a moment, you can create your own roles with custom settings. And let's say that we create here an OAuth application with read-only access. When I create it, you can see it is being created here. It has its unique client ID that you use to start the OAuth2 authentication. And here the client secret. When I click it, it is also copied to the clipboard, but it is only shown once because of course it is not the purpose that this secret is floating around, that this is easily accessible or visible to other people. That is critical for the security, of course, of OAuth2 based access. In addition to OAuth2 authentication, there is also the possibility to generate an API key, so then you do not have to log in this application before you can access the data, but you can specify the API key in your application and with that directly access the data. Also here you can see that I have different API keys created, and you can see when I add an access token, also here I will specify the name and the duration of the validity of this API key. By default 30 minutes, but I can change that to any other time frame that this API key will be valid. And also here, of course, the roles that are available in your account that you can specify for this API key. So here, for example, I can also set the read-only role for this particular API key that I create. And you can domain lock this API key. That means that when this API key is used in REST API accesses, it will only be accepted if that REST API call is coming from the particular domain that you specified. If you specify nothing, of course, you can perform this REST API call from everywhere. So I will not specify it here in this example. And as I created my API key, you can see the access token that was created here. Same concept. If I click that access token, it is copied to the clipboard, so I can directly use it or integrate it in the application, or store it in a vault or something like that, and ready to use for accessing my application. I talked about OAuth2 for authentication and authorization of access to your project. OAuth2 is based on a login form that is shown where the user has to enter his credentials. And by default, the look and feel of this login form is the look and feel of the Stellar DS website. But of course, if you want an integration in your own project where the look and feel will most likely be different than the one from Stellar DS, you can customize this look and feel. So here you see the example login form, so where you enter your credentials, the email and password, and you can change the background color. So for example, let's make this a more yellow-like login form. Like you can see here, the button color can also be customized. So let's make this a more red button like this. So, and if you want to add your own company logo, that is also something that you can do. So here we have this logo. Imagine if your company is a professional cleaning service company, then you can add your logo. And so that means that when the OAuth authentication authorization is performed, that you will see the login form in this particular look and feel. And so you can adapt it, make it matching with your own website from where your application is running and is using the Stellar DS IO data. Let's now move to roles and permissions. As I explained, there are by default 3 types of roles available when you create an account. And so the admin, you always have it available, a user profile, and also a read-only role. Read-only, as you can see, of course, is that everything is disabled except seeing what tables there are in your project and seeing the records in each table. When you have the admin permission, then of course via the API you can do a lot more things. For example, the table access, you can create, delete, see all the tables, etc. So everything is available. Now, when you want to create a new role, you can either create an entirely new role, or you can duplicate the selected role here via this button. So imagine that I duplicate this read-only active role. I click on it and you can see that this new role is available. And I can give this a name, like this, for example, video demo. I can save it here, and so now this new role is available. And for this particular role, I can change the default settings. The default settings are the settings that are applied when I create a new table and I assign this particular role. So if I move now to tables, to manage tables in our video demos, for example, go to permissions, you can see that the video demo role is now also added here. And here, for example, I could enable this see the table setting and also see the records. And so that means that if I save these changes now, for the video demo role, now only the video demos table has in the permissions see the table and see the records in the table. That means that with this particular configuration, when I invite another user with the role video demo, this user will only be able to see this video demos table. He will not be able to see any of the other tables in my project, and also the records in this particular table. So this means that I can, through roles, give some users access to one range of tables, and other users give access to another range of tables. And so I can precisely control what users can do what in my cloud data on Stellar DS. And then finally, let's come to logs. Logging is also a feature of StellarDS.io, And with the logging, you can see all the accesses that have been performed to your account. And so here you can see that these two REST API accesses were performed. So that can be convenient. If you are writing an application, you are unsure about what has been happening, then you can always check the logs and check if what is happening is matching with what you see in the logs. You can also see from what IP address REST API calls were performed. And that is the quick tour around the StellarDS.io application through which you manage your project. You manage all the tables that you want to use in your project, fields in the tables, roles on these tables, on these fields, multi-tenancy that you can enable or disable, also users that you can invite so you can collaborate with different user accounts on the same project, and also here the customization of your login, your OAuth to form, and logs that you can use to see what happened with REST APIs on your account. I hope this was a useful and brief introduction of the application that we have available for you to set up your StellarDS.io account. Note that you can quickly create a free tier account so you can play with it, explore the possibilities of StellarDS.io. In an upcoming video, we will start explaining how you can get started with the REST APIs, and as a first introduction, how you can use the very popular Postman application to perform your first REST API accesses to your StellarDS.io account. So stay tuned for the next video, and if you want to be informed about this or other content that becomes available on this video channel, don't forget to subscribe here under the video, and then you will get information as soon as we have the next video published. Till then, a lot of success with your StellarDS.io projects, and if you have any further questions, don't hesitate either to leave the comments here below this video, or of course you can always email us for information, help, etc. So be welcome to communicate with our team. We will be happy to help you further. Thank you.